Hey there, War Gamers, Justin Iron Painter here, and today we're going to check out some neoprene mats. I'd like to welcome you guys back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in today. If you are new here, please alpha strike that like and subscribe button. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for having my six. I appreciate you having my back. Thank you for being an awesome lance mate, star mate, whatever the case may be for you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you supporting what I do. That said, today I want to do a kind of an unboxing slash review of the Aerotech Base 2 and Aerobase number 2 and Aerobase number 1 Battletech Alpha Strike Hexless Battle Mats. These are made out of neoprene. I believe the MSRP comes in at $39.99, and we'll pop these open. We'll give you guys a look-see at what we've got here, and I'll give you kind of an idea of what I think about this product. All right, guys, so here are the two boxes we've got. We've got the, where's our little number here, or thing here? We've got the Aerobase number 2, and then we have the Aerobase number 1. I apologize for the lights reflecting off this table. I should put some kind of neoprene down, but we're about to be working with neoprene anyway, so when I open these and lay them flat, you guys will get a pretty good idea of what they'll look like when it's not reflective. That said, let's go ahead and pop open this one here. We'll check out Aerobase number 1 first, and let you guys see what's in the box. Now, that tab's giving me a little bit of trouble getting it open, so we'll kind of pry that out. There we go. And pull this bad boy out. Whoop. Now, one of the selling points of this is it is neoprene, which is very nice. And as I mentioned in the intro, I believe these come in at $39.99. I picked these up from Fortress Miniatures and Games on a pretty good deal. I believe I got them for around 30 bucks, so not bad discounted. So this right here is the Aerobase half of the map, and this right here is the tree side of the map, which is a little bit lackluster. Not as cool looking as the base. Now, I don't have my measuring tape out here, which I should, and I don't think the box actually tells you. There it is, it does. It's 22 by 36, so not quite 2 by 3. Right, and what we would really like to play in this game is like 4 by 4. So if we get the second one rolled out, then technically we'd have 44 by 36, I think, because I believe this is the long side. So not too far off of a 4 by 4, but a little bit off. So I'm glad they had that measurement there, so you kind of have an idea of what this looks like. I can grab a Mech Bro here and show you guys a mech for scale. So we got ourselves a gray Marauder, and you can see what it looks like on map. Actually, that's kind of small, but if you have one of these, you have a pretty good idea. As I'll mention later in the outro, one of the things I don't like about this is it has all the printed hills and terrain on here. This is really good for Classic, which again, this is a Classic map that they have removed all of the hexes from and the text and left all of the remnants. I don't necessarily mind the trees or generic terrain features, but the hills and stuff just look a little odd when you're going to start putting on 3D terrain. For example, if I want to throw this little water feature here and I want it right there, it looks a little weird in the middle of the hills. So then you kind of want to place it where it's not interfering with the terrain, but the terrain's not physically there. So when you see some of the kind of neoprene mats that are used with Warhammer 40K, those work a little bit better because they try and keep the details on there such that if something is on top, it makes sense. So you have just standard kind of grass plains and tire tread marks, things like that, instead of actual hills. So I get what this was. Seems like a little bit of low-hanging fruit to just remove the hexes and the information and leave the picture. I would rather have had some stuff that was specifically made for Alpha Strike, but at this point we'll take what we can get because we're kind of the dobbies in the little house elf closet. Are they house elves? The little dobbies in the closet that get ignored by all the wizards is kind of how it feels sometimes as an Alpha Strike player. We don't get the support we might want. That said, on this side in particular, that was a really weird Harry Potter reference. I don't know if anyone gets it. But anyway, on this side here, we've got some pre-printed terrain features. And again, kind of a concern I have, because if you want to put a building on here, which I've got a small one here, you'd think I would grab, actually I've got some of the Hex Text stuff from Thunderhead. Let's say I want to put this, I don't know, right here, all right? And there's already a building kind of printed, or right over in here, which this footprint's not too bad. It kind of covers that up. But this is actually not too bad for this either. But you get my point. If we're using something like that, or we're using maybe something that's a little smaller, like a house or something. I don't know why you put it on this, but this is a good example. That kind of covers up, but over here, not so much. And even worse when we're on the hill side of things. These ones aren't too bad, though, because you can right cover that reasonable. But even then, this also has the shadows cast on here, which is a little weird. So I don't like that feature too much. I'd rather this be empty where you can fill in the base with the buildings that you want. So removing these, maybe leaving the helis, maybe, but allowing you to put in the buildings you desire in these footprints, and that way nothing interferes. Also not having shadows cast on here, that doesn't make as much sense, especially if you're playing a game and your lights are coming from one way and the shadows on here another. Not a huge ordeal, but a little weird. One of the things I do like on here, however, is the roads, because these are printed and it makes sense that this is part of the map. You don't have to worry about them moving around. It's real easy to determine if a mech's on it, and do you need to be rolling for skidding and things of that nature for using those rules. So I don't mind the roads. I just wish that the larger, more obtrusive 3D elements weren't there. This is a flat element. Make sure that it is, or makes sense that it is there on this particular side. 3D elements that are obtrusive, wish that wasn't there. So again, I am aware of the limitations of this. I am aware that this is basically an approximation from, or a repurposed from a standard CBT map. So I get it, but that's one of my concerns. That said, let's get this one out of the way. I'm not going to roll it up yet because there is one feature that I can't show you until both mats are out. So we'll go ahead and show you Aerobase number 2. And since this gave me trouble last time, we're going to go ahead and just preemptively get the pocket knife, pop that open. All right. So go ahead and get number 2. And here we go. So you're going to notice this one's going to look very similar to the other one right here, but you're going to notice some of the same issues that I brought forth or mentioned before in terms of the obtrusive 3D elements on here and how it's going to be difficult to completely cover those with terrain and make it make sense. If you decide to play with these and assume they are terrain, now you and your friends are playing Alpha Strike in 2D with 3D minis, and that kind of defeats the purpose of Alpha Strike. Alpha Strike's there for speed, and also allows you to play in a 3D realm with your terrain, whereas in classic Battletech, everything's flat. Your hex mat tells you what it is. So in Battletech, this is probably like level 0. This is probably level 1. This is probably level 2. These are probably various densities of woods. This is probably rough terrain here. This is probably 0, 1, 2, and then probably level 3. So you can deduce that with the map. At least if you play Classic. I know what this roughly would kind of be. I can't visualize the actual height on the table. Like, could this guy see over here? I can't do that because I don't know all the maths or whatnot. Like, it's hard for me to extrapolate, basically. Like, the topography is the other word. I can't visualize it. With Alpha Strike, these would generally be a 3D feature that you put on the table, an actual hill, an actual building. If you use this map and you don't have those, now you're trying to pretend like you know these heights. So it's like, is this block line of sight? Is he have obscurity? Does he have cover? Whatever those things are. Now you have to have an agreement with your friend, and that's kind of annoying. Like at that point, if you're playing Classic, you don't necessarily have to have an agreement with your friend about what is supposed to be what. These are pre-printed, and with Alpha Strike, they aren't. So that's a small concern. Well, I say a small concern. It's a big concern considering this whole map is that way, which means I probably wouldn't play on this one that much. Or when you put down terrain, you're just going to have to kind of ignore these. When we flip over, though, this side isn't too bad. This is the desert side of it, and I like this. I don't think I'll ever use the tree side of it, but I may yet play on this side pretty frequently, I think. I think it's pretty cool. So first and foremost, we have limited obtrusive 3D elements. The hills, yes, are there, but I'm overlooking that a little bit because I think this looks really cool. And there'll be another feature later I will explain. But you have to kind of play around that and either have an agreement with your opponent or just assume it's flat. You've got your runway here or road, so this is really easy to define. Again, non-obtrusive, it's a flat feature anyway. If you're playing Classic with 3D terrain, this would still be basically flat. Obviously, you'd have a little bit of elevation from the physical 3D print, but it's still relatively flat. It's not going to actually impact the game. So this is really easy to print features like this, and then you don't have to lug those around, which I think is a plus. Got the building here, little building here, that's whatever. Again, I wish these weren't there. I wish the shadow wasn't there. I wish you were just putting buildings where you want them, because now, like, I feel obligated to put something there, right? And if I don't have something that matches exactly, it looks a little weird. But one of the features I really do like on here is the fact there's pre-printed water. And that's really nice because when you're playing with your opponent, you have a water feature on the table, and now you can actually use those rules. Now, in Classic, this is probably like depth 1, depth 2. This is probably depth 3 right here, I bet, as the colors change. That's my guess without actually having the map here. Someone in the comments who plays Classic could probably tell us, because I probably know. Or they have the map. I might have the map. I don't know. That said, for Alpha Strike, I would just assume this is depth 1 just to make things easy. And now we have an actual water feature on the table, which I think is really, really cool and functional and useful. So that makes this particular one, this is Aerobase, I believe, 2, a bit more appealing than Aerobase 1. However, one key feature I really like of these is if you were to buy both and you were to whip these sideways, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get both of them in frame here on the camera. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. Nope, I can zoom in. I cannot zoom out anymore, unfortunately. So we'll try and maneuver the camera so that you can see as we go. But one of the things that I like, let's see if I can get this oriented properly. Here we go. Okay. So if you take Aerobase number 1 and Aerobase number 2. All right, so as you guys can see right there, that lined up pretty nicely, right? I mean, hopefully this doesn't, this isn't, sorry, trying to hold the camera here with one hand and maneuver for you guys, sorry. Sorry for a little technical difficulty there. I was trying to get the camera loose so that I could position it so you could show you guys the map, because I can't quite get it all in frame. But you can see when you position both of them together, they create a really nice map. Now, this is not quite a 4x4. I believe it's 44 by 36, which isn't bad. You could probably put these together on the table and actually make a functional Alpha Strike map, especially if you, sorry for that, I'm trying to move this while talking. Especially if you and your opponent can agree on your deployment zones. That's not too terribly bad. If you guys were playing on this one on its own, just one or the other, I like this one better, which is Aerobase number 2. This is Aerobase number 1. But if you're playing with these on their own, they're not quite big enough. With ranges in Alpha Strike that go up to 42 or more inches, depending on if you have something with extreme, with stuff that has long range, and you're playing on a map that's 22 by 36 and long range is 24 to 42, these aren't even the length of your full long range, right? So at least when you put them together and you have the 44 by 36, you've got at least a little bit more room to like stretch out your units and play the game. Now, if we flip these over, we'll see if these line up. I'm sure that the trees line up pretty well, but I imagine they don't look as cool as the as I bang into everything. I'm trying to get used to where the lights and everything are out here. I'm filming from the garage today. But anyway, I'm assuming it's not going to look as cool as the Aerobase does, but I'm assuming you could probably push that together. Yeah, so these actually look to be slightly different colors of green. I don't see a natural point on these areas here that would allow you, or would make sense for registering them. So these might not actually be meant to notch together, because these do look like two separate colors of green. The hills and stuff look different, so perhaps it is just the Aerobase 1 and 2 that are meant to go together. And honestly, that's why I bought these mats anyway, because I think that those look the coolest. I don't know how many of the other mats are meant to be put together. I think the only other one I've got is the Circle of Equals one, which is meant to like put two halves together to create the circle. So I like that one too. But this one's just nice. It's bright. I can overlook some of the 3D obtrusive things on here. We got the cool water feature right here. We got the roads here, and I think that that is nice. Again, the obtrusive buildings kind of suck, but I really think this is a very pretty mat. I think the little bit of green and the blue, the tan colors and stuff of the desert look really nice, and I think it's going to be fun to play on. So maybe we'll get a game going on this at some point in the near future for the channel. That said, folks, I think I have rambled enough here, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to sign off. And that said, I'd like to thank you guys again for watching, and in closing, I would have to say at the $39.99 point per each one of these mats right here, I don't think this is something that I would probably recommend anyone pick up unless you just want something small to play on. Most Alpha Strike games are played on a 4x4, and if you combine these, you're somewhere in the ballpark. But if you do not combine these and you only have one, the play area is just a little bit too small. And I think there's some better options out there for you guys in the 4x4 neoprene market versus what these bring to the table. I do like that they are double-sided, which is pretty cool, but the lack of a 4x4 support or somewhere close to that just makes it a no for me in terms of recommending this as a product for you guys. That said, I don't think it's bad. I think the product price point is pretty interesting. It's just the size that is a problem, and if anything is to be taken away from this video, if anyone from Catalyst happens to be listening, I hope that you guys consider putting out some hexless mats for Alpha Strike that are larger in the 4x4 or 4x6 size, kind of like the Mega Mat. I think that's what the name of it was, the big hex one. I know they think that the market for that wasn't there, but people will buy stuff. I have a whole shelf of mats right there next to me that are available for gaming. And one other major issue with these right here is that they have terrain pre-printed on them. Some of that stuff's okay, like if you had like a footprint for trees, maybe that's fine, maybe water, roads at the max. But when you start adding building footprints from top down, it just takes away from the immersion for a 3D based game. Now for Classic, where you use the hexes, which is what these are based off of, these are standard Alpha Strike mats with the, standard Classic mats with the hexes and information removed. So you just have the picture, which explains why there is terrain there and buildings. However, for Alpha Strike, that just doesn't make sense. Again, the roads, water features, and trees could make sense if you're going to actually extrapolate there, but the buildings just simply don't. So if you're going to put 3D terrain on there and then you've got footprints or top-down views onto actual pre-printed buildings, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's another feature of these that I just don't like. That said, if you guys enjoyed this, again, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, sound off in the comments below if you've got thoughts of your own on these particular mats. And with that said, it is time for me to go. As always, if I don't sign off here, you guys know I'll find something to ramble about. So keep painting your models, keep rolling your dice, and I will catch you guys next time. If you made it this far, you're probably a viewer that already hits that like button when you see a video come up. You're probably already a subscriber, and you probably jump into the comments down below to help support the channel, to help support that algorithm. But if you're looking for some other ways to help support the channel too, make sure you check the description down below. Maybe you want to pick up some paints from Monument Hobbies. That's my paint of choice. The Pro Acrylic line is chef's kiss, good stuff. Maybe you want to check out some of the offerings from Death Designs, where I work in my day job. We got plenty of 3D printed products, as well as MDF terrain, some of the stuff that I have designed myself and we play with here on the channel. And if you're looking to bolster your Battletech ranks, miniatures, and offerings, make sure you check out Bobby from Fortress Miniatures and Games. He's one of the main supporters of the channel as well, and supporting any of these companies helps support what I do and helps to ensure that I can continue to bring content to all of you. If you want to become a super supporter, I highly recommend you guys check out the Patreon. You guys get that extra little edge to help push more content out, and I really do appreciate that. And my ultimate goal on the channel is to continue to be able to not only put out the content we have now, but to get to a point where you can put out more content later, whether that be battle reports or painting tutorials or just more rambles, anything at all. I'd like to be doing more content for you. This is something that I enjoy. I like being able to cast a light into the darkness to bring a little bit of hobby positivity to all of you and make you feel good, and also enjoy playing games myself. As we do the final sign off here though, I do want to go ahead and switch on over and do the scroll of awesome to showcase all the Patreon supporters, the super supporters of the channel, to give them some recognition for helping support what I do. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you guys next time.